shuttle has cleared the tower. Every 4 computers now have primary control of critical vehicle functions.
What's going on, guys? It is 10 o'clock on the dot. I actually hit it today. Alright, so I'm gonna wait for a few more people to be hopping in here to when we get started. We are gonna leave the music on again, just so it kind of just gives that chill feel that we have going on for the podcast and everything. So yeah, we have a lot to cover tonight that I'm finding pretty important that we do need to discuss. Jose, hi, I would like to know what is a wash sale? How does it occur? How will it affect my shares of GME? Should I be worried? That is going to be a question for Citadel Air. He's been doing pretty well describing that, so if we can get him up here, I'm sure he would absolutely love to answer that question. Citadel, you are popping off tonight with that. Whenever he is actually free to talk. But yeah, before he comes on, we are going to, Jose, we will definitely get to your question in just a second, but we're also going to be discussing kind of the FUD that was going around. At least I consider it FUD, at least in what I believe, that happened yesterday. And I talked about it in the space call with everyone on Twitter, but because I know not everyone's on Twitter, not everyone's in the Discord, so some people do hear this information on our YouTube. I will be addressing that as well. We are also going to be talking about what's kind of going on down in Cuba and what they're kind of facing, right? Because I feel like this definitely needs to be talked about, and how their economy's looking, because we're kind of looking at the same stuff here in the States, and I know some places over in Europe and in Africa and up in Canada, like we're all kind of seeing the same stuff, but they're kind of getting in on a heightened sense right now because they are an island. So yeah, we're gonna be touching on a lot of stuff. So with that being said, Citadel, if you are ready to explain what a wash sale is and how it can affect GameStop shares, if you're ready.
Sure. I'm sorry, I was erroneously muted before. Can you hear me?
Yeah, you're good.
All right, super. So I think someone was asking what a wash sale was in regards to their GME. I'm hoping that they're holding, and this shouldn't apply. But a wash sale occurs when someone sells or trades a security at a loss within a 30-day period, and then re-enters that position. So if you sold a stock and then at a loss, doesn't matter the first time you enter, entered, sold, you lost some money. Typically, you'd be able to deduct that loss at the end of the year against any gains for your taxes. However, if you re-enter the security, like you're day trading, either within 30 days, that loss is no longer eligible for deduction. And in fact, it is treated in such a way that it increases your cost. The loss is carried forward into your new position cost, if that makes sense.
Thank you for that. And guys, I will bring people up at the end, towards the end. So if you want to kind of hold off on requesting to speak until that point, just because we do have a lot that I want to cover, we'll get to it. I promise. So, all right. So in regards to what was being said yesterday, where we see people trying to say, like, AMC, GME, I don't care what stock it is. It could be Tesla. It could be anything like that, right? That if anybody's giving you an exact price point that it's going to drop to and then go up to or then back down to or anything like that, I tend to be very weary of this. It tends to send up a lot of red flags, and it's different. Those kinds of things are different than when we talk about like the floor price or any kind of speculation of that sort, the hype numbers or anything like that, because that's, at the end of the day, we're guessing, right? And when you put it as a guarantee that the things are going to happen due to inside information or sources that you have or something like that someone has or whatever, that puts up a lot of red flags to me, because it's like, okay, we know that if you're getting insider information, like, that's not a good thing. That is very troubling that someone might be trying to rig the system, I guess is a good way to put it. And insider trading is very illegal, and you can get in a lot of trouble. And if you do that towards the community, you know, oh hey, I have this insider information that it's going to drop to $20, and then they're going to spike it back up, and then they're going to drop it trying to shake people. Guys, this is information that we've heard all the way for 7 months now. It doesn't need to be said. It doesn't need to be broadcasted. You know, manipulation and you know, just overall screwiness, I guess you could say. It happens. It's what we've been witnessing. It's what we're fighting against, right? And so I just want you guys to kind of err on the side of caution when people are putting this kind of information out, because we don't know where the sources are coming from, and if it is from, you know, someone that's in the industry that's part of all this, and they're saying like this is what's going to happen, like that's going to get us in a lot of trouble, right? I need that information out there. It's just to err on the side of caution. No one should be telling you, you know, you should sell or you should buy now or anything like that, because that is financial advice. You know, we can hold the stock, right? We just hold the stock. I don't even tell people to buy anymore. Like it just doesn't feel right to me. We just hold it. There's nothing wrong with just holding a stock. That's what investors do. You know, that's literally what you do when you invest. You buy into a company that you like, that you think they're doing great, and you want to show support, and then you just hold the stock and you wait to see what happens, right? So just be very, very, very cautious with that. Citadel, do you have anything you want to add with that, or is that pretty much?
No, I think you summarized my sentiments 100% accurately. I think I've come across similar information and have, you know, kindly said thank you and turned the other direction, because it's something I want zero involvement with personally.
Yeah, 100%. 100%. Maddie is in the house. Hey, Maddie. Star, welcome. Kringle, I am so glad you guys are all here. And everyone in the Discord that is in right now, welcome, guys. This is our Wednesday podcast. So yeah, we tend to be pretty chill. Not a lot of major DD going on in terms of our own economic standings. But I know I'm saying a lot because I'm flabbergasted right now with what's going on in Cuba. I really am saddened that we live in our current time, in our current, you know, stage of you know, global standings, and that you can still have people being so cut off, right? And if everyone doesn't know, like if you haven't been paying attention to what's going on kind of in the world, because I mean, I understand it, I get it, it's a lot, the world's big and there's a lot of news going on, but they are dealing with a lot of hardships in terms of being able to purchase goods, you know, like milk, pork, medicine, shampoos, and you know, they have had some sanctions put on them from Trump way back when, and Cuba's government's kind of blaming their hardships on those sanctions and why they don't have anything for their people and whatnot. And so there's, you know, they're starting to rise up. You know, I'm trying to figure out how to word this without having to read through every article. And I will post all these articles into the description for the YouTube channel so you guys can go read them. But my husband really did a great job kind of picking out some great ones to kind of go over. And we'll start out with this. So basically, and this is from Reuters, and talking about Cuba's inflation. And basically what's happened is that they have completely gone hyperbolic on the cost of their goods, and they've started rationing various products in their markets to where, like, they're doing, like, I don't know if everyone remembers studying World War II, but the ration cards, they actually have those now, and they're rationing things like hot dogs and cooking oil and powdered milk and rice and everything. Like a lot of their stuff is on rations, and the last little paragraph in this one article by Reuters, it said a 50 peso bottle of cooking oil fetched 200 pesos, and a pack of, this is on the street, on the not in the stores. This is like I don't want to say the black market, but a pack of hot dogs, 80 pesos compared to 27.50 pesos when it is available in the stores. Powdered milk was being rationed for children and elderly with 2.5 pesos a bag, and was sold for 300 pesos on the street. Like this is insane that this is even happening. They're looking at anywhere from 500 to 900% inflation. Wrap your head around that for a sec. 500% to 900% inflation due to the fact that they're basically cutting off the peso being able to be converted. And so like people have been on the black market, finding different currencies. They're having to find different currencies and then transferring them and everything. Like Cuba is in such a mess right now, and so that's why we're starting to see, they're protesting like crazy. And like down here in Florida, we've had protests down in Miami, and where they've shut down some of the freeways, and it's so troubling that a nation that is literally, right off the coast, right? Like they're not that far away from us, that they're going through this, and so the next alarming thing is that their own government is calling the protesters criminals. Like these people are trying. Yes, we know that they're a communist state, they're communist run, but the fact that they're literally being called criminals and being detained. Like they detained a Spanish reporter, someone from Spain. Like she reports from Madrid, and Spain's like, you need to release her because they believe in free speech and reporting and protesting and things like that. So they're detaining anybody that opposes it, which is what happens. And so I really, my heart really just goes out to them right now, because and what is completely asinine is that the government actually shut off the internet in Cuba. They shut the internet off so that they couldn't post videos or anything about the demonstrations and the protests going on. And I also read somewhere in one of these articles that the power, I have to find this again. They were rationing the power. Like they would only have like 12 hours of power for a certain amount of days. And can imagine that, like, we live in Florida. It's hot, it's humid, right? And they're an island, so they're even a little bit further south, so it's hot and it's humid. And like the fact that they're rationing the power, and there's kids and there's elderly, like how in the world do you do that to your people, right? And so why I bring this up is, not so much I don't think our government's ever going to shut our power off, hopefully. And, the internet, I'm pretty sure is pretty safe, I'd hope. But it was really coming back to like the rations and the hyperinflation that they're seeing. And, we're it's all over the world, right? Oh, I did find it. They have gone 6 days with only 12 hours of power each day. That is one thing that is blowing. That's why they started protesting. Imagine that. 6 days, you only have 12 hours of power each day. Could you imagine? Like that's I'm shaking because I am so upset by that. And the world needs to be watching this. Like that's not a way to treat your people. And so, and the disgusting thing is that what we're finding in the U.S. media, the U.S. mainstream media is literally trying to tell everyone like they're protesting COVID. Like they're trying to spin this that people down there are trying to protest COVID. No, they're protesting the fact that they have no supplies. Like, figure how we all felt with COVID at the highest, where our shelves were empty and everything. No, they're going through that on a constant basis, and nothing is being done for it. So, God, I don't know what else, we can do, at this point. I would figure that the world government leaders would look at this and be like, no, this needs to end. This is cruel. And because it isn't just humans either. It's like, you have these people have their pets, and they have, different like the livelihoods of other just beings, right? It's baffling. And so what really fascinated me was that the mayor of Miami, his dad was was the first Cuban-born mayor. Right? So the mayor of Miami, so the son, actually is telling our government that airstrikes on Cuba's government right now is something that we need to look at. Like, that America needs to step up and kind of help the Cuban citizens, kind of trying to combat this. So, it's something, this, and then you also, with that being said, that this mayor in Miami, where a lot of these protests are going on, because it is kind of like a safe haven for the Cubans, where they kind of flock to, because it is, it's southern Florida. And what we're also seeing now is that Russia and China are kind of like warning, like, you need to stay away from Cuba. You need to just back off. Don't do anything. So this is kind of tying into that next war, right? Like, is this going to be a catalyst for that? And as we know, with the fourth turn, there's always some kind of war with the crisis and everything. So we could be seeing that really, like, final step into that fourth turning, with your economic crisis, with our stock market, our real estate market and everything. And then, like, there's always some kind of war with all of that. So there's just so many things ramping up at this very moment that we really do need to be paying attention to, because you figure you also have stuff with, like, Taiwan and China, messing with trades with Australia, and there's all kinds of stuff happening in South Africa. So this is those moments when I tell you guys, when you need to find something, when you need to just kind of zoom out and look at the macro level of economics, look at the global stance. How is the world doing? Because right now it's not doing well. I mean, it doesn't take much research to just kind of look and say, there's a lot of crap going on. So it's what I wanted to touch on today. And, like I said, I'm just so saddened to know that this is happening not too far from where I live. And we need to step up and help people. Like, this, it's disgusting that, this happens. And I know it happens in all kinds of countries, and it shouldn't. Humans need to be kind to humans, because at the end of the day, that's all the world truly needs, is that kindness, right? The world's already a disgusting place. It doesn't need to be worse. Life's hard. Life is hard enough as it is, without extra steps making it harder. So I am going to be researching this more and trying to really bring light to this, because I don't think anyone's, like, a lot of people are talking about it, obviously, but I don't think a lot of people are understanding the severity of this, right? People are going to hurt. People are hurting already, and that's not what I want to see. And looking at how we're going as a country, and, how Canada's going, Europe, I'm not ever going to say we're going to be communist. That's not I don't ever hope that's a thing, but the inflation and the having to ration things, because we do have a short supply of products, and, people aren't going back to work. People are staying home, so the factories aren't, able to put out as much supply and everything. And I saw this article that patio furniture, a very random thing to buy, patio furniture, is actually in a shortage. The most random thing that you wouldn't think of. And we're seeing a shortage in rice and beans here too. And, the droughts out west, it's killing farmland. And So, that's going to really hurt the, corn and other produce that we have going around for the country, and we need to really be aware of this, right? That's climate change. That's what's going on with climate change, and we've talked about that and how that affects our economy right now too. And it's not, for some reason, the government's just like turning a deaf ear to it. Like, this isn't a problem. What are you talking about? And so, yeah, that's pretty much what I wanted to talk about with all of that, guys. If anybody has anything you guys want to add to that, that would be great. If you know anything about it. If not, we can definitely move on from that topic. Okay, I'm sorry, guys. I'm just now reading trade chat because I was reading all my articles. All right, let me scroll up here. Let's see. All right.
Like, I'm gonna say that this situation, I don't know if there's many history buffs out there, but it reminds me of Juan Perón in like 1970s with his regime in Argentina. What was happening to people who were protesting and that kind of thing.
Right. And that's very, I'm reading Kringle, Cuba is literally isolated because of sanctions masquerading as trading embargoes. And yeah, I agree with that. I definitely, the sanctions, and that's the other thing I was reading is that Biden, he ran on the whole thing that he was going to undo what Trump did and redo the trade deals and things like that. And he's not. He's been in office for how long and already, and nothing has been done with it. And someone from the White House, I can't remember who it was, but basically said like he doesn't see him actually getting around to it and actually doing anything about it. And that's terrible. That is absolutely terrible. It's bad. Their state of economy worse than since the fall of the Soviet Union. Yeah. Protests against the government to do something to get rid of sanctions or for war. So they're protesting the government basically. So the peso is pretty much worthless there. The peso has completely lost its ability to be used there because their inflation is so high, like the cost of goods and whatnot is through the roof now, and with all the rationing and everything. And so people, supply and demand, oh well, I have this powdered milk and I can sell it to you now. I got it on my ration card, but we're not using it, so I can sell it to you now for 200-300 pesos. Like, it's craziness.
I think the other important thing to underscore, that obviously the embargo / restrictions that the U.S. has imposed obviously have a negative impact on the economy, but those are nothing new. The government and as it exists now, this is just business as usual. It's only now that people are standing up because they're tired of it. I mean, they were urged to embrace by China, and I think it was Vietnam in 2018, 2019, to change their economy to an actual market economy. Just for context, they're not in a free market economy. So part of the problem is, they're not. There's no influx of money either from other countries, investors, etc., akin to like North Korea. But the government, because it's not a free market economy, owns or operates pretty much every business and every industry in the country. And by default, anyone who is actually employed, they're employed by the country. They're not, there's no such thing as like, self-employed, independent. I mean, there are a few, but it's not exactly legal, or it's very, very heavily restricted, and the government's taking a tariff. I mean, turning off the internet is nothing new. That's also been restricted. Power rationing, these, I think they're just starting to amp things up. But I'm not trying to be completely anti-communist here, but clearly, this system is not tenable. And if they embrace a free market economy, I know that's scary, but they could have outside money coming in to invest, in various industries. And then magically, that peso increases in value, and people are employed elsewhere, not stuck working for the government, etc.
Yeah. I mean, and I think the thing that just bothered me is that they, like, it was literally said that they shut the internet off so that they couldn't share videos of the demonstrations and the protests. Like, that's the only reason they did it. And I don't know, like, there's just, that's so screwed up. Like, I mean, and I guess that's, and that's where, people that live in the States live in free countries. Like, we cannot take that for granted. We really cannot do that. Like, I mean, think about that. Think about it for just a second. What we are doing as a community, we sit here and we bash our government. We sit there and say, what the hell are you doing? Like, you need to do something more. Like, the market's corrupt. The real estate is a mess. Like, do something. And we get to do that, right? Like, we get to have that ability. So, don't squander that. Like, make some noise to get change going, because we have that opportunity. And whether or not it falls on deaf ears is a whole nother question, but it's crazy to me. It is. Sorry, it's my little tangent. Let's see, going to chat. People always pay the price. Yes, they do. Soviet Union, big example, focused nearly on all military and the people suffer. Yeah. And so, yeah, and the fact that the president down there, like, told his supporters or whatever to actually go and attack the anti-government movement people, the protesters. Like, they literally was like, go attack them. Like, they're not doing anything good, basically. And that was just craziness. That was, but yeah, coming back around to just the concerns. Like, what do you guys, like, okay, could you see it happening, like our inflation becoming that bad with everything that's going on right now? Like, having rations and just the small supply that we have, and the demand's going to probably increase, pretty drastically if we can't keep, production going. Do you guys see it kind of being like that same thing, like having to go to rations?
Are we forgetting like Great Depression and ration cards? I mean, I'm not old enough. I was not alive during that era, but I remember my father talking great lengths about it.
Really?
And quite literally, it was a ration card, and you were allocated, X, and it was stamped or hole punched, and that's what you got for the week, and that was it. For context, what if hypothetically one of our trade partners, I don't know, China, Mexico, etc., decide to pass unilateral sanctions or embargoes on us, so we can't import or export with China or Mexico? How would the flow of products, food, other commodities, and that would basically interrupt trade? We could be facing a very similar type of dilemma.
Yeah, I could see that. It's because, like, what was it last year? Was it last year that we exported a majority of our, like, rice and everything to China? Was it just rice, or was it was corn and something else? And then we ended up with a shortage of our own. Like, I thought it was I can't, I'd have to relook it up, but yeah, we exported like quite a bit of our supply of random things, and then we were like, oh, well, now we have to ration it for our own country. And I guess we kind of went through a rationing, not so much with the card by any means, but you saw stores that were like, only 5 canned goods or 2 packs of chicken or something like that during COVID, because the supply was running low, right? So I guess we kind of went through a small type of rationing last year, but not to the extent of like, here's your card, this is what you get. Let's see, who's your ape? Just being honest here, no intention to offend anyone at all, but I don't see it naturally happening here. but I can see our ruling class government pushing it into being for their political power reasons. That's a good point. Citadel, were you gonna say something? I saw your mic go.
No, I was just going to mention everyone was complaining about the toilet paper rationing.
Jesus.
That kind of, I think that hits home with everyone. So that's all I wanted to mention. I'm sorry.
It is funny that we're bringing up toilet paper. Like, we honestly, like, in our house, we actually didn't know that the toilet paper, like, shortage was a thing for a while, because, like, we buy our toilet paper from, like, Sam's or Costco or whatever, so we have, like, a bulk supply. It's one of those hurricane things. And we were like, wait, there's a shortage of toilet paper. What? And so we went out, we were, like, in our garage or whatever. We're like, okay, well, we have, like, 4 or 5 packs of toilet paper, like, still in the bulk buy, and we're like, well, I think we're good. So, that was really interesting. And so when it did actually come time that we needed to go buy toilet paper, we had to, like, time it perfectly at Sam's. Like, we were like, okay, asking, like, hey, when do you guys get these shipments in? Like, is that a thing? And so, yeah, it was we were ready for the toilet paper shortage. We had the toilet paper, we had the paper towels, we had tissues. Oh yeah, we were good. Like, it was so weird. I was like, yes, for one time in my life, I'm actually prepared for something. So yeah, it was pretty good. I was not hoarding it. I was not hoarding.
I wasn't gonna go there, but I don't know how many packs you said you had, and you said a garage full of toilet paper.
No, no, we keep all of our bulk storage in our garage, and so it's like one of the big packs of things that you get from Sam's. Like, we had literally just bought it not too long ago, and we had, like, 1 pack left in the house. So, like, yeah, it was good. It was solid. My parents ended up moving down with us in December, and so they had brought theirs that they had, and so we, you merge 2 houses that buy bulk, and you're like, oh, well, this is good. So yeah, no, it was comical. Let's see, going back up to Kringle, hard to say because we haven't experienced this in a very long time. We have no idea if we're at the end of the long-term debt cycle. Just looking at the COVID recession, some particular inventories went out fast. Ha ha ha, with the toilet paper. I mean, that is probably the funniest thing that became short during that time frame, right? Was toilet paper. Like, I hope whoever was paying attention during all of that actually invested into, who would that be? Procter & Gamble, or who does toilet paper? Whichever company is in toilet paper, I hope you invested in it because you probably made bank. She was getting ready to sell it for $1,000. No. Freaking frying oil and chicken wing prices are going. Yeah, no, chicken wings. Oh my gosh, it's so funny that you say that. With the chicken wings, because, like, that's something that, like, my husband and I we like to go to, like, B-dubs or something like that, or we even make them. And the price of chicken wings is ridiculous. Like, I can't even figure out why that's even a thing right now. Running toilet paper ain't no game. The meat shelves in grocery stores went empty. People will absolutely go crazy with rationing. Yeah, they will. They will. And it's, I don't want to see it. I don't want to see it because, just people, gas shortages. And this is probably the biggest thing that, okay, living in Hawaii taught me a lot of valuable lessons. And that, living on an island, at least out there, like Oahu, at any given point, has roughly 2 to 3 weeks of supplies for the entire island. That is all that is on the island at one given time. And when we were out there, we had a couple hurricanes, one that went to the north, one that came to the south, and they shut the ports down because they were anticipating a direct hit. And so they shut our ports down and stopped, ships from coming in. And it would take another, 2 to 3 weeks or so to get new supplies onto the island. And so we actually got to see what that looks like. And, like, Cheeky and I, whenever she comes in, we kind of giggle about it because she lives out there as well. And the gas pumps. You live on an island, right? You have hurricanes coming. Everyone went and got gas. and being from Florida, I had to laugh because I'm like, where are you gonna go? Where do you go when there's a hurricane? Why are you filling up all your gas tanks? We need that gas later, down the road for another couple weeks or whatever. But all the gas pumps were empty. It was completely empty. And then like the Spam and the ramen, like the shelves were empty during these hurricane times. Like it was very odd to see. And then people like people were they had to ration cases of water from like Costco and Safeway and everywhere like that's out there because people were buying 6, 7 cases of water. And then they had to make a rule after the hurricanes like left. They were like, sorry, you bought all the water. You cannot return it for your money back. Like that's not a thing. Because they were greedy. It was complete greed. And, they had to make it to a thing where like people bought all the generators up and then they were like, you can't return the generator. Sorry. And it was, I mean, when people panic and things become very scarce, it's very odd to say the least. Let's see, Delta variant is their path to fall shutdowns, mark my word. Oh gosh, we won't get into Delta variant or the COVID stuff in that sense on the podcast, guys. Just not just yet. No, it's cool. We all have our own opinions and everything on how COVID is, and no, it's cool. You guys are fine. All these little tyrants got a taste of total control last year with shutdowns. You think they're just going to give that power back? Yeah, no. It's... I don't even know what to make of that. I mean, if you guys want to talk about it, we can, Citadel, Marissa, but I would probably say no. We can kind of veer off from that. Well, panic. Oh, yes, Citadel.
No, I'm in agreement. That's all.
Okay. Well, panic is bad as a society because it tends to make people hoard more potential returns on the stock market or through derivatives. It might be very, very enticing. Well, maybe. I don't know. Like it's we're in weird times, I would say, right? Like we are in very weird times at the present moment, and I'm just hoping that enough people are waking up and understanding what's going on. You know what I mean? Like, getting themselves ready for anything. Okay, Day Night says, is the Delta variant effective enough to cause another COVID market correction? It depends. Okay, in my own opinion, right? What I believe, this has nothing to do with whether COVID exists or not exists. COVID is a thing. My sister had it. We know it hit our family. But it depends on how the media and the government and the world governments and everything portray the Delta variant, right? And what their reaction is to it, in my opinion. If they start shutting things back down, which I've heard they're starting to do again, that's not going to be good. Our country needs to be able to stay open and productive because, at the end of the day, we're not a production country by any means anymore, which is sad. The little production that we still do in the country needs to be happening to keep us going because I don't know what the industries look like and the markets and everything look like with another shutdown, like a lockdown that we had to do. People are just now starting to go back to work. People are starting to get jobs. Businesses are just now, kind of coming up for air. Like for our little business, we actually had we had a shoot today for our photography business. We have a couple more lined up. Like we're starting to see some more business coming in. But that is reliant on how the real estate market does, because that's what that's our bills. That's what pays our bills is real estate photography. And right now, a couple of the realtors we're working with, they're getting completely screwed over on their deals. They're making, 2 to 3% maybe, and that's, they might not even get to keep the whole thing. If another realtor comes in, they split the commission, and then there's the brokerage fees and everything else, they're getting screwed. So, we've been working with a lot of our realtors, and we lower our prices, to match what they need and everything, so that they're still getting the high quality, but, it's a very give and take right now, for small businesses and everything, and just individual businesses and individual entrepreneurs and stuff. Anyone else want to touch on that one? Of your thoughts on how Delta variant might affect the market? No? Okay. But yeah, you guys gotta kind of stay prepared, right? Like, I associate what's kind of to come, if we are in the fourth turn, which, history likes to repeat itself. It's done it numerous times. We're in for a few years of hurt, and talking with my husband today, we've gotten a lot of 2012 vibes. I don't know if anyone else is feeling that. It might be 08, it might be 10 for you guys, but we got hit really hard in 2012. And just kind of looking around and talking with people, and trying to get a feel for what's, the overall vibe. It feels a lot like 2012, where people were just barely making it and just scratching by, and just kind of keeping their heads down and getting through the days, right? And that's a terrible way to be. That's a terrible way to live, when you're just trying to make it through the day, because that's, you're not enjoying your life, right? Life is a finite number, and I don't like to see it that way. There's just, and that's coming from someone who lives in a state that's not really been locked down that much, but you can see the hurt and the strain that the rising cost of everything is having, like gas prices, and eggs are going up, milk's going up, bread's going up, all the staples, staple prices, they're starting to really go up already. Let me check over here on chat. How about that AMC? Oh Lord. Yeah, AMC took a little drop today, didn't it? But it's okay. It's okay. Everything in that sense is okay. It's to be expected. If we're up against people that are manipulating the market to their own benefit, it's to be expected they're gonna drop it and try to shake people out. But guys, we've been holding for 7 months. Just look away. Just get out, go do something, step away from the computers or your phone or whatever. Yeah, sorry, we do photography. Someday I'll share. I'll probably show you guys sometime what we do. We do. This is where it gets really funny, because we specialize in luxury properties. We've shot quite a few multi-million-dollar properties, and man, let's just say that industry, they're not going too much. They're not wanting to. They're either not wanting to spend the money on the pictures because the houses sell so fast, or they don't want to spend the money because they're getting screwed on deals. So yeah, it's been a little rough.
Well, can you hear me?
I can hear you.
Okay. Apparently, I was saying something and you were talking. I'm like, I bet you can't hear me right now.
No.
I was just gonna say, if anybody wanted to maybe step up and join you in the conversation, that'd be great.
Yeah. We are getting towards the end of this. So yeah, if you guys want to come up, if you want to request to speak, definitely do so now. We can get you up here.
Join the conversation.
Yeah, join the conversation, because I'm just rattling on now. Let's see. If all goes well tomorrow morning, I will be getting on the AMC train.
Yay!
Yes, Hoosier Abe. Yes, took me a week to get up to speed, but I think I'm ready. No, yeah, and I mean, just keep a watch on it, definitely. Just keep reading. That's all I can keep saying, is just keep doing DD, keep reading it, because someone is always coming out with new information. Hey, Tudamoon, what's going on?
Hey, yeah, I just I got the tail end of it. I just figured out how to actually speak here. So I was going to touch on what you were talking about the 2008, 2012. As it happens, I was talking to the VP of a regional bank that I do business with, and they've sort of finally opened up and kind of get back to normal from COVID. And it was the first time I've had a chance to actually walk in and kind of, visit a little bit and see how things are going. And I will tell you, they are on the edge of being pretty worried about the next 6 months. Credit is tightening.
Mm-hmm.
The real estate foreclosure tsunami, they already see all the precursors for that getting ready to be a pretty big problem.
Mm-hmm.
And I said, well, how do you feel about Wells Fargo? And she rolled her eyes and she said, when the big ones start to go, it's just a matter of time and we're all going to be hurting. So there's some definite concern in the financials that, the worst hasn't even begun to be seen by, the rest of us. And they're already starting to see that they're already tightening up their credit. And she's like, we aren't doing the mortgages like we were doing. It really is sort of indicative of the 2008, 2012. You talk about 2012. I remember 2008. So I'm going to say 2008 and the 10 years thereafter
Mm-hmm.
is kind of getting set up again here. So yeah, we all need to sort of try and stay ahead of the curve and not get ourselves into too much speculation on some of this. As you pointed out, the $1 million properties and stuff. I happen to live on the water here on the Gulf of Mexico, and this is the first time in my life I've seen, high-end houses with for sale signs for more than 30 days, and it's like, oh man, if they're not selling,
No.
that's really changed.
Yeah, one of our houses that we shot has been on the market for 6 months.
Mm-hmm.
And it's a custom built house with like 2.5 acres, and it's in a great location. It's quiet. It has its own pond and like golf greening area. Like it's a really cool house. And she originally listed it for like 2.1. And I'll tell you what, it's now under $1 million listing.
Yeah.
Like
So we had a little bit of a
ouch.
sweet spot. COVID kind of brought people from the metropolitan areas, New York, Connecticut, the big metropolitan Northeast areas.
Mm-hmm.
They discovered they could come down here during COVID, work digitally, and live pretty cheaply. And so we had a real, that was a shot in the arm of our real estate market. People were spending, all cash, 20% over asking, and they weren't lasting hours. I mean, literally within a day, things were selling. Well, that's not only come to a stop. Now the banks are like, we don't even want a loan on a mortgage here unless it's like super perfect and, 20%, all the old standby, the tried and true 30-year mortgages. Those are the only ones they want to talk about doing right now. I asked her, hey, how'd you feel about putting a HELOC on my investment properties? She said, I would have done it 6 months ago. I ain't going to touch it now.
No, and that's the thing that I was talking about on the spaces, because we actually touched on Wells Fargo, and because everyone was kind of wondering like what the BullHouse thought, what I would come up with, and what everyone else in the community would come up with, and I have articles coming out the wazoo from written in 08 and 10 talking about them putting a restriction on the housing line of credit. No matter what your credit score was, how much money you made, they were like, no, sorry, we can't. And with the Wells Fargo tightening up with the line of credit versus personal loans or credit cards, like lines of credit typically have a lower interest rate, whereas personal loans and credit cards have a higher interest rate, right? And so, well, how do you make money? Well, you force people into products that give you money, right? And so, and with lines of credit, you only pay interest on the amount of money that you're using. Like you can have $100,000 line of credit, but if you're not using it, well, you're not paying interest on it. It's just kind of sitting there as liquidity for you if you have an oh shit moment. And I cannot believe that we're back into this, right? Because I was reading these articles from Wall Street and the Wall Street Journal and Pittsburgh and all these other places, and I was like, God, are these written right now? Have these been written just a couple weeks ago? Because this is exactly what we're seeing, and I cannot believe we're back here. Like it's not that 08, 10, 12 was ever fixed. They just kicked the can, just kept kicking it, and somebody else will deal with the problem. Oh, somebody else will take care of it, right? But I appreciate you too, to Moon, like sharing that. Like that's huge that a bank would actually open up about that.
Well, I mean, I live in a fairly affluent little community here. We've got sort of our little island of, everybody's sort of in a better place than a lot of other parts of our area here. And so, I mean, I have coffee, sort of a business coffee, and Tim sits on the board. I said, Tim, what's to stop this from re-happening? He's like, well, we have to have perfect loans. 2006, 2008, we were making stupid loans against properties that we should have never been loaning out. He said, oh, that's come to an end. He said, now our problem becomes, I can't make money on a loan like I could before. I don't want to give anybody a personal loan because it takes so much regulation and paperwork. I'm not going to do it for $2,000. I'd just tell them to go get a credit card. He said, but the other problem we're having is we have to have such perfect loans to repackage and resell. And then he reminded me, he said, you see what's happening with Freddie Mac and Fannie Mae. They took a 40% hit in the last 30 days. He said, I don't have maybe 5% of my customers that come into all of our branches have over an 800 credit score. He said, and that's a problem. And even, people are before 620, we could get them into something. He's like, man, we can't touch them unless they're, 740 and above now. He's like, I don't get very many people an 800 credit score. He said, I used to want to give them money, no questions asked. Now I got to ask a bunch of questions. And he's like, there's just no money in credit anymore. And, I just, the big difference that I got from his conversation was 2006, the predatory loans that got packaged up are what tanked the market. Mm-hmm. Now it's just going to be a matter of, we just don't have enough credits on the streets to repackage it and resell it. I mean, it's a perfect world, and even that is not helping Freddie Mac and Fannie Mae presently. And we both talked about, he's like rolling his eyes too. He's like, the foreclosures are going to start 6, 7, 8 months from now. All the rentals that they couldn't pay mortgages on are going to hit, and all the people that have had forbearances, all this stuff is going to start hitting at once. Yep. He's like, we don't want to touch it. And so that's going to be a Freddie Mac, Fannie Mae problem. And when they go, we know what the rest of the economy is going to do.
Yeah, and this is exactly what we've been talking about for months, right? Is watch what the housing industry is going to do. Like they had it set for June 30th for the forbearances, and they kicked it one more time to July 31st. Takes 30 to 60, maybe 90 days to, get the evictions or the foreclosures going. But if the courts get overwhelmed, we could see it at that 6 months. So that's why I've been saying like Q3, Q4, optimistically, hopefully we see it Q1, to give people time to kind of prepare for it. But yeah, I mean, that's exactly what we've been kind of saying, right? Like, oh my God, like it's one of those moments when you're just like, I don't want to be right. I don't want to be right on this kind of subject, because it's like, if I'm right, there's a lot of people going to be screwed. And that scares me. Like, that's...
Well, I mean, look, we're smarter now than we were in 2006. At least I am. And, I take approach, I can only take care of what I know how to take care of. And the rest of the people, y'all are in for another rough 10 years. I mean, I don't wish it on anybody. Mm-hmm. And it's certainly, the pandemic hasn't been helpful. And to your point, Kenna, just as I was getting on, I heard you talking about the Delta variant. Yeah, I mean, everybody's kind of like, man, if we got to do this twice, they're just going to, the businesses are just going to forget it. They're just not going to try and come back a second time.
No, and that's exactly it. Spoiler, do you have something that you wanted to add?
Yeah, I was just given to the moon. That was very resourceful there. This past weekend, I was at a party, and I was actually sitting down with the vice president of PNC Bank. I'm here in Northeast Pennsylvania. I'm a business owner. I have 2 businesses. I own a plumbing and heating company, and I own a fireworks business. Fireworks business was really good this year, which was surprising considering I didn't think it was going to be as lucrative as it was. But the problems we're experiencing on the service side, as far as plumbing and retail sales as a whole, is getting product. I literally got my product the Monday before the 4th, and the shipping was almost triple. So, I mean...
Good Lord.
Yeah, I mean, and we're starting to see it now at the pump. The squeeze is coming on the people.
Yep.
And, I mean, the PNC banker, like I said, he's the vice president of PNC Bank. they have their eyes on this AMC GME stuff that's going on also. But here's the thing: same scenario that To the Moon described was happening here in Northeast Pennsylvania during COVID. We had people fleeing the city, coming to the high end like Eagle Rock and stuff like that. They were literally buying property that you could not build on and saying, "Get it done."
Yep.
They were building homes on property that you wouldn't even. I mean, it cost them probably 4 times more to build a structure on, just to get out of the city at that point. Now, what you were saying, Ken, as far as the financing on them structures, I mean, you're saying that they're going to be calling that in. I mean, are those houses going to be going up for sale again? I mean, these people built these homes at Eagle Rock, and I assume they have them. Now, the one that you were describing, To the Moon, was on the market for 6 months, you said?
No, I think Kenna was saying that. I'm saying that here in my world, they were doing, cash offers over asking and getting in bidding wars up until about 2 months ago. And now all of a sudden, man, that's been on the market for 30 days. What the hell? And then it's like, now you start asking questions. The end, when it happened to stop, it happened, people ran out of the spare cash they had. They moved down here. And now that that's done, their going forward does not look very good.
Well, here's the thing. I'm going to describe it here in Northeast Pennsylvania. We still currently do have the bidding wars happening here in Pennsylvania. So I don't know if it's just not totally squeezed us in this area or what, but literally the housing market here in Northeast Pennsylvania is, you can't find a home. You cannot find land. You cannot find property. You cannot find rentals. You cannot find that. There are people that are listing properties on the market and they are gone, within a day, 2 days, 30,000 over ask.
Yeah, and that's been our
mean?
market for the last year here. I mean, it's been like shocking to see how it's like you don't even get a listing done and it's already sold.
Wait, To the Moon, are you in Florida?
No, I'm actually on the Gulf Coast of Alabama. I used to live in Florida.
Yeah, so and it's been the same way here in Florida, which funny enough, Florida saw the highest rate of people moving to the state last year, mainly because Florida stayed open. We were shut down for 6 weeks. That's it.
Yep.
Like we only had shutdowns for like 6 weeks, and our governor was like, we can't do this as a state. Our economy cannot do this, and so they put other regulations in. He did it in a brilliant way that he let the small governments, the mayors and everything, kind of figure out how they needed to do their areas of the state, because what works for Miami might not work for Panama City Beach, or what works for Jacksonville won't work for Gainesville or whatever. So he literally was like, you guys need to take your own little sections, because we can't tell the entire state to do one thing because it's not going to work. And so people moved down here in droves. Like my little areas, like Tampa Bay area, like if you go out into the suburban areas are just booming. They can't build houses fast enough for everybody trying to move here. And so our house prices are going up drastically, like rent. I've touched on this a couple times. Because we know, my husband and I, we were planning on buying this summer. We were going to buy and, whatever. And we've started diving into the market and we're like, well, we're not going to buy. Like, that sounds like a stupid idea right now to us, right? Because of how the market was, because they are bidding 30-40% over the ask, and I'm like, I can't do that. I know what these houses are worth, and I know no. And so we decided to renew our lease in the house that we're in, and it was, we had to really debate it because like I've told everyone, like my parents live with me, so space is a little tight in our house, but okay, whatever. And so we were looking at we were either gonna renew our lease or find a bigger place so we all had more space, right? Oh my God. It was literally a decision of increase our rent by $100 a month or find a place that would be big enough and spend $3,200 a month. We pay $1,500 now. Oh, hell no. Like, there was places that are the same size that we have right now that were $2,400 a month, and I was like, okay, we're locking in our rate before they figure out that
Yep.
this is a steal. So, I mean, that's the scary situation right now. It's like,
See, this is where I'm a little confused because you were saying that the banker is requiring an 800 credit score in order to finance.
No.
they
I'm
were doing
saying, hold on,
cash. They were doing
Let me.
They were doing cash. Okay,
Yeah,
so
right.
all of this stuff right now is being moved with people that are actually liquid. Is what's been
Mhm.
transpiring for the past year.
yes,
It's a year now, right? Yeah, it's probably about a
year and a half.
Yeah. So I mean, and then all the deferments. People's credit
Mhm.
cards were deferred.
Yep.
Mortgages were deferred. Rents were deferred. Actually, you couldn't even evict anybody during COVID at that time. So rent wasn't being paid.
Yep.
Those mortgages weren't being paid.
Nope.
Yep.
So this housing thing
It's a
is
disaster.
going to come at us. It's going to. Oh my God.
Yeah,
Okay.
this is what
All right.
this is
Can
what
I ask one question?
Mhm.
Now, is this a disaster on the bank side, or is this? I mean, I understand the people that are going to be displaced and stuff of that nature.
Mhm.
I mean, it's terrible. It's a tragedy. But have you guys noticed
the banks
puts-
are going to have to absorb.
Did
The
you
banks
guys
are going to have to
notice
absorb
the
these
puts that are
foreclosures.
on Bank of America alone in the options market?
I
The
have-
number of puts that are
Mhm.
actually on Bank of America, Wells Fargo.
It
Yeah,
doesn't
if you get a
surprise me.
chance, I mean, it's crazy.
Well,
The
So this is where this gets really funny. So like, I don't spoiler. I think I haven't met you. I don't think I haven't. Seen
no,
you.
I'm new.
You're
I'm
new.
new.
Okay. So, oh gosh, what was it? March? Help me out, guys. March of this year, I started tracking everything. Like, I started telling everyone, watch the banks. Because if this was going to be like 08 or 1929 or anything like that, you have to watch the banks, because guess what? That's where the money is being held and transferred around to, right? And so I devised this little mind map, and it's the interconnectings of how they all relate to each other, right? And it started off, I kid you not, I started off with AIG, the American International Group. It's an insurance. They're the insurers of all insurers for financial groups.
Yep.
And the reason I focused on them is they were the last ones to get bailed out in 08. And the fascinating thing is that they're the reason that Lehman Brothers actually went under, because the government looked at them both and said, which one's more interconnected and which one can't go down? Okay, Lehman Brothers had some bad risks, and AIG is literally all around the world, so if AIG goes down, the global market goes down. And so I started there, got all the big, who all is invested into AIG, and sure enough, it's all the big players plus a lot of others, little ones. But you had Vanguard, BlackRock, Morgan Stanley, Wells Fargo, JP Morgan, and everything, and Goldman Sachs, right? And these were my big players, and I found this like infinite loop of money just being transferred amongst all of them, right? Through Vanguard, through BlackRock, through the stock market, through real estate, because we know that BlackRock, Blackstone, brother companies.
Berkshire Hathaway.
Well, so BlackRock and Blackstone, whichever, they were the ones in 08 that went and bought up all the foreclosures. They actually became the first one to sell the first single family rental securitization in 2013, 2015, I can't remember now. But that is what my husband is believing to be the new CDO, which would be the actual bespoke tranche opportunity, the BTOs. BTO is just CDO with a new different name, right?
Mhm.
And so that's where the rental market comes in, is the new CDO of this time frame, because now we have all of these corporations that go in, they buy up all these houses, and look at what BlackRock's done in Texas. Yeah, exactly.
Berkshire Hathaway.
They're
I
doing
see
it.
Berkshire Hathaway here in Pennsylvania.
Yeah.
Yep.
So yeah, they're doing it too, and so they're literally buying up these houses and weeding through, or making it to where like middle class, lower class can no longer afford these houses, because thanks Biden for the $500,000 tax gain limit. Oh my God. And so yeah, it's just a mess. It is a complete mess, and it's the exact same players. Credit Suisse, Deutsche, again, Wells Fargo, Goldman Sachs, Morgan Stanley. Morgan Stanley is a funny one because they're in bed with everybody. Like, it is it is a complete disaster. And then with the market, the housing market on top of that, we have climate change that is affecting housing insurance rates. So down in like Miami, you're seeing an increase from like anywhere from 20 to 40% on just their insurance premiums. And so they're going from, these, $2,000, maybe $3,000 policies to like $4,000 to $5,000 policies. And it's, other factors, these shoestring budgets that they're already on, like, because people take out the max amount they can for a house, that shoestring budget just gets stretched a little bit more, add on higher property taxes or anything like that, and you're setting the entire country up for failure at that point.
Yep.
So yeah,
It's
there's the
same-
housing market in 20 seconds, pretty much.
It's the same thing for California too.
Well, and it doesn't even touch. It's that we're not even talking about commercial because, lady.
Yeah, that's a whole different deal there. With
Yeah.
the commercial, they were just kicking people out just to get the property and basically upgrade it. So to class them out of that housing in California, is that correct?
Yeah, I mean that and like they're doing. I mean it's on restaurants. It's all over the country that their rates are going up. Like the rental rate for places are going up, or just bailing, like basically not even paying for their leases, or not leases, their I don't know, it's not a mortgage, their loans that they have for their commercial properties. They haven't been paying those either. Like it's a mess. It is such a mess. And I don't know how people are not talking about this more.
So you're
I
saying
know.
we got 6 months?
Optimistically, end of Q3, Q4 is where we could start seeing the effects. I think with all the kicking of the can and everything, we might look at Q1 of next year, where we really see it, like them finally saying something about it in the news, like, oh, this is a problem. So, and then what's actually pretty interesting with the between 2008 and 2010, my husband found this really. Yes, I have to have him find it again. This chart that showed the economic decline, right? As our economy is declining, every time they tried to put money into it, it just bazookaed it down. Like it actually hit it harder, and like the economy just fell even harder. Every time they tried to save the economy, it just went down. So it's I don't know what they're gonna do with this at all.
Kenna, if I can add in, it's actually starting to affect people a little bit more. I know I haven't been in here to talk in a while.
Yeah, you're fine. Go for it.
But my father, I'm gonna use him for example. He has a loan out through Wells Fargo for his vehicle, and I just talked to him today about it, and he didn't know anything about them closing down the credit lines. And I told him, I said, check your email. And he pulled his email up, and sure as shit, there it goes. It's sitting right there in his email. They're closing his loan out on his vehicle, and it's not even paid off yet. And then he has 60 days to reply back to them on how he wants to address it. So now he's going to have to turn around and find somebody else to take on the loan.
Yep.
And if he doesn't, then he's going to have to pay it out. And the messed up part about it is he's retired military. He was a master chief, and he's retired, and now they're doing this to him.
Mm-hmm.
That's insane.
And that's what I was trying to hop in before, because I was going to input on some of the things that you were saying, because I've been away, so I've been trying to gather my P's and Q's and cross my T's and dot my I's and doing my own little scenario. And I was actually going to ask Citadel what did he thought, or I don't even like calling you Citadel. I'm just going to call you Air. I was going to ask Air what he thought about the boxcar theory. If he's there.
I lost him.
Okay, well, I can catch him later on. But what do you think about it, Kenna?
I haven't really studied the boxcar theory yet.
Well,
I can't comment on it. I'm sorry.
well, if you get a chance to look at it,
Yeah.
make sure you put a tinfoil hat on, because it's gonna take you for a wild ride.
Oh boy.
Yeah, I
we
was
like
looking
those.
for the audio for that. Actually, that's where I was poking around in here.
So we do have a question. Maybe Toxic, you can answer this. Negative beta on GME and AMC means MOAS if market corrects or crashes.
Possibly.
Can you elaborate on this? Because I'm actually kind of confused by this question.
Okay.
For 6 months now.
Right.
Well, nothing's guaranteed,
Right.
obviously. I do know that we are going to squeeze, but when? Have no idea when. And I do know that with the beta being negative, there's not very many shorts that are shorting like they should be if they were so hellbound set on bringing this thing down. Right now, this is just from what I've researched and from what I've gathered, there's a lot of bears that are losing interest in this because they see the potential of what's going to happen and what's to come. Now, you have to do your own DD to figure out what your thought process of it is. But I can tell you right now, I'm more bullish on AMC than I have ever been, even after playing the call options that I did. I just jumped into some more call options. There's no ifs, ands, buts about it. So I'm ready for it.
Yeah, I agree with you.
With everything that's been coming into play, with them shoving it down to 32.
Yeah, drop the IV on the calls, right?
Yo, it did. The price of call options went down tremendously, and I see another potential for me to turn less than $100 into quite a bit of money. And that's not me giving out financial advice. That's me doing my own charts and my own analysis. So with hedge funds doing what they're doing has profited me enough to be able to take care of my family. And I can tell you right now, I'm not selling my shares. There's no way in hell.
Yep. So I'm pretty new to trying to figure out all the different DD components, but I sort of started getting really interested in why Tesla was sort of going through its whole thing, and that was before I even sort of really started looking at. That was before AMC came about. But what I'm starting to do is kind of go back and like, hold on, this looks a lot like it's going to be a Tesla sort of a scenario where it's sort of a slowed down, but you get more upside over the long haul as opposed to, a spike that lasts 2 weeks and then it drops back down. I think it looks more like these guys are going to have to be fed for months to get all the synthetics. All this stuff is going to take a long time, and the price is going to reach a level and it's just going to stay there rather than ever going back down to, $25-30. I mean, I remember when Tesla went from 14 to 400, I'm like, okay, this company's overvalued. I lost sight of the fact that it has nothing to do with the value of the company. It's how much trouble the shorts got themselves into, and everybody learned how to sort of manage that whole process so that, Elon made a frickin' fortune coasting those shorts. And I'm starting to think AMC might be another version of that.
Well, there's a different factor in that most people don't realize is they play Tesla like a flute because of Elon Musk. Elon Musk can get away with a lot more stuff than what most CEOs can, and that's because of his health.
There's somebody who's in the chat that really should speak on this.
Okay.
Yeah,
I just seen Kringle Kitten post in here, and I had no idea he was in here.
Yeah.
I've been looking for his audio on his last chat that he just did, and it explains some stuff that needs to be, I want to hear that audio. I just caught word of it tonight that it was out there, and the Tesla squeeze and this AMC squeeze, I do not believe are going to be the same.
Okay.
And I believe Kringle Kitten can hit on this. I don't know him, but I know that I've heard about this box theory, And the DD that this guy has done, he's broke this thing down for what it is, and the way it's actually playing out.
Okay.
I can't give you the audio on it, but I can give you the layout on it, and maybe Gringle can do the audio on that.
Yeah, I tried downloading it from the thing, but it's just not working. So.
Oh, maybe at some point, Peace wanting to come up. All right, Gringle. Let's go. I will say, Kringle, you're gonna have to do this like warp speed because we'll stay live about another 15 minutes. We've gone over our time frame, but we're having good discussion, so I didn't want to be like, okay, guys, we're done. No, so we're gonna go about another 15 minutes, guys, and then we can definitely pick up some of these conversations on Friday or in any of the Twitter spaces we keep holding throughout the week. Sound good?
Sounds good.
All right.
I'll be more than happy to jump down into the free chat too if need be.
Oh, no. You're perfectly fine. So, but Kringle, stage is yours if you want to go and talk about what you talked about today.
Oh yes, I did an exhaustive class for 3 hours earlier today. So this is information that comes from professional expertise. So they come from former market makers, clearing agents, hedge fund managers, and of course they cannot confirm or deny anything because of legal purposes, but they wing me to me all the time. So there's that.
Yeah,
so,
we get that.
Yeah, so the boxcar functions, right? So there are they are just math equations. So they are typically used in electrical engineering. So they regulate voltages between resistance levels, and they create like brackets of voltages, right? So this is just an equation, right? But apparently they are being used by HFT firms, so high frequency trading firms, to regulate pricings between resistance levels and support levels, like people do on technical analysis, effectively creating some brackets of prices, right? And for experienced people who have been to the other side of the fence, I mean those who are directly involved into making these computer algorithms and inserting these boxcar functions, well, they can see those boxcars being applied in consolidation phases. So we could see those boxcars in wash trading, and effectively creating some psychological exhaustion for investors to surrender some level of supply. So all about market makers, right? The role of market makers is to essentially respond to supply and demand, and they are the main distributor of supply of securities from the stock exchange. So that's their main obligation, right? So remember, controlling the supply is kind of the secret sauce of market making to generate liquidity. And without that, they cannot control the flow of the market regardless of how demand is represented. So in the instance of a short squeeze, so this could be a managed event, market makers use boxcar functions to let us trade between brackets. So our first bracket could be like between $20 to our first run up to $72, and our second bracket would be $72. What we're dipping now, $72 to $32 or $30, depending on how they want us to be found in this bracket. So, and of course, so the perfect example is a Tesla type of short squeeze, right? So if liquidity dries, there will be a disruption to the supply chain because nothing gets moved. So if nothing gets moved, well, this kind of introduces panic in the financial world, because in fear of a market possibly tanking. So henceforth, market crash could expedite the process of a short squeeze by making the curve a bit more parabolic, right? A bit more violent, a bit more prominent. So as investors don't sell, well, we can talk about the secondary depositories, but that doesn't matter. But that's what boxcar functions are, or they are just math equations.
Keyword I picked up on there was parabolic.
Is everyone's brains okay? Because I mean, my mind's still feeling a little mushy at this point.
I'm sorry. I'm very sorry.
I followed what he said. He just stopped abruptly, and I thought, okay, there's got to be more.
I'm sorry, but yeah, my brain is fried after presenting that class. It's just like too exhaustive.
No, I get it. I absolutely get it. And is there a link or something to it that someone
Yeah, I
can
have a document. I mean, it's on my Twitter, but hold on, I'll just post it.
Thank you.
Thank you. Yep. And if you want, I can definitely post that onto the description for this channel so people can go listen or read it if you want me to.
So that document is all about, you need to know about market makers, essentially on what they do and speculatively, and they cannot confirm anything, but they tell me on how things are done, but they cannot confirm anything, unfortunately.
Sure.
But there are things that they overwent, and yeah, they were talking about secondary book systems. So these were actually initially talked about by West Christian, and they kind of confirmed that they are the existence of secondary book system, but whatever. We went over order delays, payment for order flows, BFOF. Yeah, and of course, all expanded document about behavioral finance and clearinghouses.
I didn't mean to put you on the spot, Kringle, but I really appreciate you jumping in here and saying something. I really do. Thank you.
I was just like listening because I find this podcast to be very, very educational, and that's what I want.
Oh, well, thank you. Thank you. It's high praise. But yeah, I mean, you are more than welcome to hop up here and talk whenever you want to, or if someone requests you to. Just put your little hand up and I'll bring you up here for sure. But yeah, I don't have anything else for you guys. Does anyone else have anything? Final thoughts? Any conclusions that anyone wants to say? Any other questions that you want to ask? This is for the YouTube or Discord. Let's see. Let the cat speak. Oh, yeah. So Neutral says, let the cat speak. The writing is on the wall. The crash is going to be nuts. Kringle be everywhere. Yes, Kringle is everywhere. I swear there's 5 of them. Hey, John. Sounds like no kidding. Boxcar regulators and electronics. RC Boat Guy says.
I do want to bring one thing up real quick before we end out on this note. Anybody, and I'm not being negative in any which way, shape, or form, but anybody that watched the Matt Core interview today, look past what was said on that, because that right there was an extreme bear. And you'd have to watch the video to understand it. But I started watching it, and that is absolutely utter bull.
I have no idea what you're talking about, so...
It's probably a good thing, Kenna, because I know how you are, and that would really ruffle your feathers.
Uh-oh. No, we don't need to ruffle feathers. I'm okay.
No.
Oh wait,
I'm
I'm guessing the community would like to see my feathers ruffled, because apparently that creates the best content when I start popping off on things.
KB asked what was the end game of this boxcar strategy. I can answer unless Kringle wants to.
I mean, I didn't see like Matt Core's live stream, but apparently he invited someone that the community didn't like, and I don't know. I don't watch Matt Core's anyway, or Dre, by the way.
No, KB said the end game to the boxcar strategy in the trade talk chat. Do you want to answer, or do you want me to?
Hold on. What's the end game to this boxcar strategy? I mean, it's just the boxcar function, right? It is used in a financial world, but of course they cannot confirm anything. But that's, I mean, it's highly prominent in wash trading stocks, right? And of course, this is just a theory, right? So.
It's pretty much a tinfoil hat moment, but it's got good potential behind it.
Mm-hmm. So if they are really used by HFT firms to regulate prices between resistance levels and support, creating brackets of prices, I mean, if they were able to do that, I mean, props on them for illegally to do so.
Ultimately, if, in my opinion, if the end game is psychological warfare to get us to sell, it's causing a negative, adverse emotional feeling, fatigue, exhaustion, like we're a hamster on a wheel. This is all a giant exercise in futility, and it's very rudimentary, psychology. But mathematically applied in this instance. So endgame, it's a way to agitate us to sell. One of the many ways, in my opinion.
The one thing that I can add, sorry, Kenna. The one thing that I can add for anybody, that is, if you feel like you're getting overwhelmed and you're getting stressed out and you're starting to worry because the stock is dropping, what you need to do. And you can take this as any type of financial advice whatsoever, because this is not something that's going to hurt you. Set you an alert and get away from the stocks. Go do something. Go fishing. Go spend time with your family. Don't look at the charts. Set you an alert. I've got mine set up for 50. I got mine set up for 60. I've got it in $10 increments. My phone will go off.
Yeah.
That's all I do. And I've been spending time with my family. I've been taking care of things. And I'm probably most cool, calm, and collective person now than I have been. And I think this is probably chilled you've ever heard me, isn't it, Kenna?
Yep, I would say so. I mean, but I've been saying to do that since February. Just step away. Just... I mean, unless you're doing some big deep dive DD type things and you're trying to research some stuff, if you're not doing that, just set your alerts like you said and just walk away from it. Just don't look at it. Like, hell, I've started sleeping through the first part of market, actually. Like, I'm actually sleeping. And that's something, right? So
for you? Yes.
We do have another question. Red Falcon. Can I ask one? Yes, of course. Will the second book price ever be resolved to the actual market price?
It is really hard to answer that because no one has proof of such price. We just know that the secondary book system actually exists because we have many testimonies of former market makers and whatnot, but the price inside, well, only the hedgies or those in market making knows the real price. So if we can't have access to those ledgers, well, we don't have hard evidence. That's it.
Pretty solid answer. I was pretty much going to say the same thing. Like, we'll never know. Like, there's just certain things that us average folk will never know. And that's
the way I view this, I mean, that particular component, I don't really care what the real price is. All I know is if I don't sell my shares, sooner or later, the prices are going to get high enough where I will. Whether or not it's a real price or not, it's real to me. That's all that really matters to me.
The only real price is whenever you want to sell your positions, and that's it.
Exactly.
I understand that people are curious about the real price behind those secondary book system, but it doesn't really matter because the market makers, they give you the reality based on what they want you to see. That's it. And people have no control over that, unfortunately.
Right. So IMC, I don't spend any time worrying about AMC. I'm more MMAT. I'm like, okay, come on, MMAT, let's get organized here. But yeah, no, AMC, I don't even give it, it doesn't even cross my path as far as worrying about it.
Yeah, and so any of our new viewers on YouTube, we do cover broad market, so you will hear random tickers like Meta and Verb and a few others that people are in. So just know that, like, we are all still very bullish on AMC and GME, but our community does follow broad market, so we do talk about other stocks. That's why you will hear those on our podcast from here and there. I just wanted to put that disclaimer out.
MMAT did do pretty good today.
Yeah, had a good day. Okay. All right, Kenny, you need to make this go away for everybody. Good night.
All right, guys. Yes.
I appreciate you letting me speak, Kenna. Thank you.
Oh, for sure. Thanks, guys, for coming up and being a part of the podcast. I do appreciate it. We will be back live again on Friday. I will probably hold a Twitter space either tomorrow night or during the weekend or something, just so that I can definitely reach out to the part of the community as well. We are going to start trying to post little snippet videos here and there with random DD that we find. So if we're looking on Super Stonks, BullHouse, if you guys want to submit some DD, the BullHouse is broad market. So if you find anything interesting, post it up there. I mean, we like reading it all. So if you find anything about, the Asian markets or something going on in Dubai or whatever, just post it up. We're curious, right? Other than that, I have no other final thoughts. Kringle, Toxic, Spoiler, Citadel, everyone that came up, Lady, I appreciate you guys being a part of it. And I will say good night.
Thank you, Kenna.